Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the All We Do Is Talk podcast here for our NBA season preview. It's the best time of the year in the fall. All the sports are going to be on at one time. I'm super excited for it. How y'all doing today?
What's good, Christian? We have Christian joining us today for a basketball.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, that's what's up. I know you guys are probably out there waiting. There will be a review of the Tyson Fury fight to come. We'll get Christian back on for that because that was a pretty epic fight.
Yeah, shame I missed it.
A couple of us might need to rewatch the fight, so we're a little bit behind on that, but it's coming. But today we're gonna give you some previews. We got a couple episodes planned. We got a season preview episode coming with some award predictions, and we also got some top 15 players and top 15 players under 25 coming. So today we're gonna give you the top 15 players under 25 list for this one. So what we're going to do is we're going to all go ahead and tell our list, and then we'll interject and converse.
All right. I'll just go ahead and go first. I'm going to go from 15 on to 1 to build some anticipation, So I'll give y'all my first 5. Jimmy Butler barely makes a cut at number 15. At number 14, I got Paul George. At number 13, I got Jason Tatum. At number 12, I got Devin Booker. And at number 11, I got Bradley Beal.
Okay.
Not bad.
Okay. All right. At number 10, I got Damian Lillard. At 9, I got James Harden. At 8, I got Anthony Davis. At 7, I got Joel Embiid. At 6, I got Luka Doncic.
Okay.
And to round out the top 15 list, I got 5. We got two-time MVP Steph Curry. At 4, we got reigning MVP Nikola Jokic. At number 3, I've got defending Finals MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo. At number 2, we got Kevin Durant. And at number 1, we still have the King, LeBron James.
Okay.
That's a good list.
That's a good list. It's all at the top. It's a lot of guys that are they're all vying for one for sure spot. But I think we got the same players with the exception of one, so I'll just go ahead and knock out my list. So at 15, I have Mr. 50-40-90 himself. I have Kyrie Irving. Mr. Anti-Vax will
He's not anti-vax. He's the voice of the voiceless.
He's Kyrie Irving. That's all we can say about that. At 14, I have Devin Booker coming off his first finals appearance. Hopefully not his last. 13, I have a Jimmy Butler. I have another wing at 12, Mr. PG-13. We'll be seeing him without Kawhi this year. At 11, I have Damian Lillard. So that's my 15 through 11. Kyrie, Book, Jimmy, PG-13, Dame time. At 10, I'm expecting a big final breakout year from Jason Tatum. 9, I'm going to go with Joel Embiid. At number 8, I have Luka Doncic, who probably has the highest ceiling of anybody in this top 10. Mm-hmm. At 7, I have James Harden, who could easily be a sneaky MVP candidate. And number 6 is where I will place the King, LeBron James. At 5, so my 10 through 6 is Tatum, Embiid, Luka, Harden, LeBron. And so at 5, I have LeBron's teammate, Mr. Anthony Davis. Maybe a DPOY MVP type of season on the way. At 4, I have Steph, the chef, the one-time unanimous MVP. At 3, I have the defending MVP, Mr. Nikola Jokic. At 2, I will go with the Slim Reaper, Kevin Durant. Hopefully we can see another healthy season out of him. And at 1, I will go with the reigning Finals MVP. I'm going to give Giannis the top spot on my list.
I just got to figure out how Steph Curry gets to be ahead of LeBron James. It's like we can argue about LeBron James' place in the list, blah blah blah. But Steph Curry got to miss the playoffs 2 straight years and get to be a top 5 player. But LeBron a year and 3 days ago was the Finals MVP. So I just want to know how that works.
Let's let Christian go ahead with his list, and then we'll continue to converse.
Okay, I'll share with mine. So I'll start from the 15, like you guys did. So starting at 15, I do have Jimmy Butler, who just made the list. For 14,
Jimmy Butler's Mr. 15th overall.
yeah. For 14, I actually have Paul George, Mr. George Paul in playoffs. 13, I have Kyrie Irving, actually. For 12,
Okay.
Mr. Triple Double himself, Russell Westbrook.
Ooh, Russ. We trust in Russ.
You know, Mr. Triple Double. For 11, I have Devin Booker. For 10, I have Kawhi Leonard, Mr. Claw, the defensive player. That was 10, right? Yeah. For 9,
Yeah.
I have Luka Doncic. 8, Damian Lillard. 7, James Harden himself, the beard. 6, Steph Curry. 5, Joel Embiid. 4, Nikola Jokic. Those two, you know, being centers, possible MVPs. There's kind of toss returns, so of course, top 6. That was 6 and 5. Number 4, LeBron James, of course, the facilitator. Number 3, Anthony Davis. Number 2, Slim Reaper himself, Kevin Durant. And of course, Giannis, the Greek freak, for number 1.
Okay, so wow.
That
We all got similar characters.
Just to be clear, I left Kyrie off because I don't think he's playing basketball this year. So I moved on from him, and I also left Kawhi off because I think he'll miss 75% of the season. So guys who are hurt or choosing not to play basketball, I left off the list.
You're good, Christian, because I did talk to Moody earlier this week about leave. I also agreed to leave Kawhi off. I just couldn't leave Kyrie off because I do believe he's not hurt. He will be sooner or later. Somebody will force him to go play basketball, so he'll be back whether he likes it or not. And he's coming off a career year. So I mean, major points that I saw. We all had the Paul George, Jimmy Butler, Damian Lillard, Devin Booker, Kyrie back into the list. So
Your third tier of superstars are pretty set.
Guys that I'll class on the guys you like as your 2. They might not be a 1 on a winning championship team, but they're solid 2s. We've seen Kyrie be a 2.
I didn't hear Russell Westbrook from you guys. Do you guys not consider him?
He would.
It's a tough list, Christian. Unfortunately, Russell Westbrook's value is lesser than Paul George and Jimmy Butler because the position they play, what they provide on the defensive end. But and then Russell Westbrook, you always have to worry about Russell Westbrook and him joining a new team as for the first time being the 3rd guy on his team. So that's just an adjustment I'm going to have to see him make before we figure out where he's a hard guy to rank. But we got to figure out.
Russell in the regular Russell Westbrook's a top 15 player
all time.
Playoff Russell Westbrook these last few seasons has been hard to rate because I think I had Trey Young. Huh?
You're talking to a Wizards fan. I know how he was last year, so we'll definitely see how he.
Yeah, Trey Young looks so much better in the playoffs. Donovan Mitchell has beaten Russell Westbrook head-to-head in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And it was just regular season-wise, he would have been 21 if I ranked up when I did my initial cut. So he would have been in the top. He's a top 25 player for sure. Where he would have been in the top 15, I think it was hard for me. We'll have to see if he has a good year with the Lakers, fitting in with LeBron and AD. It'll probably be good for him. Also, he's one of these guys that's at such an advanced age that if he fell off, you could see Russell Westbrook falling off.
One thing I did notice is that the Euro takeover of the NBA. I think we all had 3 Euro players in our top 6.
We all had Jokic in the top 4.
Yeah, we all had Jokic in the top 4. I think that's pretty. Like outside of the big 3 wings, he's that next guy in terms of I can carry my team as far as I can carry him.
Like Giannis, he's just a title away from where it's just people will launch me the best player if he gets lucky. He could easily win another MVP with Jamal Murray being hurt, but I think he'll take a step back for Michael Porter Jr., which might dip his numbers, but he'll still be effective because he'll get rebounds and assists because he's their point guard. I've never seen anybody like him. He's the most skilled. He might be the most skilled player in the NBA behind Steph Curry.
You know, going back to those.
I
was just saying, going back to those European players, it's a shame. Porzingis, was scheduled to be one of these top all-star players, and he just started going downhill.
He had the injury.
None of us, he
had a major. Yeah,
I mean, I feel like KD, Steph, Embiid, AD have all also had devastating injuries, and they still find themselves on the list.
Yeah, none of them are freakishly sized. He's freakishly sized and had a devastating injury. He's 7'4", so when Yao Ming started having the injuries, it was over because I'm not a regular sized human being. More things I saw in common. We all had Jason Tatum in that 10 to 13 range. So he's for sure a top 15 all NBA player because he hasn't made the All NBA team. I believe.
I understand that. Regardless of whether he's made the All NBA team or not, I think he's an unquestioned top 15 player in the league. He's a top 5 scorer in the NBA right now. He's still developing the rest of the parts of his game in terms of the ability to facilitate, defend, and all that stuff. But as a dude, I think Jason Tatum's good enough to be the best player on the championship.
Okay, he made the third team in 2020.
Okay.
So
I think Tatum's good enough to be the best player on the championship team right now.
Yeah.
Is now can Boston build the rest of the team around him? That remains to be seen. But Tatum has shown you Kevin Durant, Kobe Bryant level of in the playoffs. I can make bucket after bucket over strong defense.
And then before we get to the big names, the last of the second half, is it clear that Damian Lillard and Paul George might have peaked, and Jimmy Butler they've clearly peaked, though those guys are not moving up probably.
It would take a magical run from one of them to get to like Butler's bubble run.
That's the reason why he might.
That's why he gets to be on the list now because he took his team to a finals. But yeah, those players are like a crazy championship run away from launching into the top 7, 8-ish. But for right now, in terms of what they've done so far and what we think of the players going forward, I think they're good where they are.
Especially,
how about you feel about that, Christian?
I agree, especially with Damian Lillard. He has reached his peak, of course, knocking out Paul George in the playoffs, numerous times. But it's game time, and eventually we do see players regress and go downhill. So I hope he, ends up leaving Portland before that happens.
Well, yeah. So I will say, what if Dame was to end up on a championship situation and won a championship? Could he see him?
Is that what
What's his rolling?
If he was to, if Milwaukee traded Jrue Holiday and Chris Middleton for Damian Lillard right now, he could, and he was.
I don't think he could get any higher than where he is. I have him at 10. I don't really see who ahead of him. Like maybe he could jump Harden and AD, the guys who haven't been the best players on championship teams. So maybe he could jump those guys, but I still think he has to be behind LeBron, Kevin, Giannis, Steph, Jokic, Embiid. There's still like 7 people who I think are just locked in.
Okay. So, now let's move into the top 10. So first thing I've seen is we all clearly have Jokic over Embiid. I know that Christian said that's a highly contested debate. We all went with Jokic.
Yeah. Jokic just does more valuable things. Embiid's defense is great. I think we all understand that, but Jokic can be the engine of an offense in a way that only LeBron and Luka can really match in terms of like being the guy, the central figure on a team's offense that could be championship level.
What about the fact now Embiid plays the defense though? He's the two-way of the two options.
Yeah, he's the two-way, but I think Jokic's offense is so much more valuable that I think that it overcomes with Embiid provides. That's why Embiid and Anthony Davis are both sitting here outside of our top. I think he was in your top
5.
But like outside of their like a top 3 area that they could have been in, because defense, while valuable, if you can be the central offensive figure on a championship team, it's kind of hard to have you at that rate.
Christian, how you feel about the debate? Anything else to say about that?
And just the fact that Embiid, is more injury prone than Jokic, kind of him up too. It's like Moody was saying, Jokic serves as practically the boost of the team, facilitating, passing, just more IQ all around. So that's why, and I'm pretty sure we all labeled Jokic over Embiid. So we could all agree.
Yeah. All right, one question I do have. I noticed that both of you put Anthony Davis ahead of LeBron James on your list.
I was gonna talk about one more debate before we got to the Lakers because we're gonna knock out both. So that was the next thing I was thinking. But the last thing before we got to the Lakers, guys, the Luka versus James Harden debate. So I've got James Harden one spot above Luka, but I also said Luka has the chance to be the highest has the highest potential of anybody in the top 10. So
I have Luka ahead just because I think I trust Luka more in a playoff setting to show up and be great
and win a series.
It's just like, unfortunately, he's ran into Kawhi and Paul George both times. Like, he ran into the one team one of the few teams his team probably isn't capable of beating. It's like when Anthony Davis made to the playoffs and he couldn't beat the KD Warriors. Like, what are you asking, man? What are you asking the man to do?
Yeah, the KD Warriors won championships.
But like Luka showed up
haven't won anything.
Luka showed up in the playoffs and almost outscored the Clippers in the game single-handedly. with Kawhi and Paul George out there. That's how dominant he was in terms of being able to facilitate the entire offense. They got nothing out of Kristaps Porzingis. Absolutely nothing. It's like he wasn't even on the floor. They couldn't play him. So if Luka could get any sort of mediocre help, if Luka could get a Draymond Green like Steph has, I think they're a conference finals team automatically.
Christian, I also realized that you had Harden over Luka. You want to interject some more on that?
Yeah, I did. Just because I just view Harden as more of a scorer, an individual who can, draw 40 back to back. Well, I don't know about, now in Nets since they do share the ball more. But, it just, when it comes to playoffs, Harden always comes as a different player. That's why it was a hard.
Luka's done all these things in the playoffs to be about. What has Luka done in the playoffs to show that
the man was averaging? The man was almost giving you a 40-point triple double in the playoffs,
and they didn't win the series.
I mean, they went 7. I don't know what more you could have asked the man to do.
Win the series. Harden's went to the conference finals and has played the KD Warriors
and lost.
He got pushed to the game 7 without his best player. But enough of that. Let's move on to this Lakers debate. So clearly, me and Christian both put AD above LeBron James, and we've moved LeBron James out of the top 3 in both of our lists. I've got him out of the top 5.
This screams recency bias.
So, Moody, go ahead. And I'm going to always argue first that AD is a better two-way player, and he's in the prime of his career. I believe he's a better player on the Lakers. But go ahead, Moody.
It's the same argument I tried to give you earlier about the Jokic and Embiid argument. The AD's defense is amazing. He's going to be
his offense is amazing.
He's going to be my pick for DPOY. I think he's the best defensive player in the league, no question. But the most important player, the best player on the Lakers, the most overall good player on the Lakers remains LeBron James. LeBron James is better at Anthony Davis. If you do 10 of the skill categories, LeBron probably wins 7 of them. That's just the way it is. LeBron is the central hub on every team he's ever played on, taking his team to the finals multiple times. A year ago, he won the Finals MVP on the team that Anthony Davis was on. But I agree. With better numbers across the board, I don't know how many times I have to show that to you.
Yeah, so in the games that you guys won, that AD was the one that was playing better.
We won most of the games, the games would have been the games that we lost would have been a lot more uncompetitive if LeBron wasn't dropping 40-point triple doubles in those games. I love Anthony Davis, but I trust LeBron's durability more. I trust LeBron's ability to be the best player without a ton of help around him more. And overall, LeBron has just done it for so long until he shows you a significant drop-off, which he hasn't yet. I don't know how you put Anthony Davis above.
I could argue that one, but I just want to know what's your argument for LeBron James as the number 1 player?
Okay, it's the same argument I just said. Until LeBron has shown you, because a year ago, LeBron was considered the best player in the league after he took his team to the title and won the finals.
I didn't agree with that.
You may disagree because you dislike LeBron James and you added Kevin Durant in the last year, but the consensus would be LeBron was top 2 at worst, the best player in the league when he won the finals MVP literally a year ago. Now in March, at the end of March, when LeBron James had the Lakers as the 2 seed in the Western Conference, the second best record in the NBA, he was averaging a career high from the 3-point line. His numbers were still MVP numbers. You could have made a legitimate argument that LeBron could have been the MVP until Solomon Hill dove into his ankle. I
think Embiid was always.
Embiid was hurt at the time,
but
Embiid had already suffered
the front runner.
But Embiid had
and then I thought James Harden was the second front
runner. But James Harden had the second best record. How was James Harden ahead of LeBron when he didn't have the second best record in the league? And don't forget, Anthony Davis had been gone.
KD wasn't playing. KD hadn't been playing at the
Kyrie was out there for most except for a random.
KD wasn't playing.
But yeah, so they both were missing players who you said's a better player on the team. They were both missing players who we think are the better players on the team.
And I think LeBron
James team's the second best in the league. They had the second best. They were 21-6
because AD was playing for.
No, he wasn't.
How many games did AD play?
50% of the season. He missed 36 games.
How many games did he play before he missed his first game?
Probably 15 to 18, and something like that. It wasn't a lot. LeBron had when the AD had left, the Lakers would have had the second best record in the league. When LeBron James got hurt, the Lakers still had the second best record in the league. I think that says a lot. LeBron James has not shown this clip that people seem to be trying to put on him. He was still 25, 8 and 8. He's averaging a career high shooting. He's only averaging that few because he took the regular season not seriously. So LeBron has shown that until he shows a significant drop off, I think you guys have a more elevated other people than consider LeBron James to have fallen
if
off.
I haven't believed
but LeBron James was like LeBron, like I said, LeBron was the Finals MVP a year ago. In a year, I don't see how Kevin Durant, who deserves to be 2, I think he's a better player. They didn't got the second round.
But I think he's a better player.
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
I think he's a better player.
He won a title because everybody got. But
I'm just talking about who won. But I think Giannis is a better offensive and defensive player than LeBron.
I don't agree with that whatsoever.
What's average? Giannis is averaging. He's at least averaging.
I mean, yeah, his points are going to be higher.
And his rebounds better, and his defense is better.
LeBron's going to be a much better facilitator and shooter.
I think LeBron's only a better facilitator than them.
Oh,
but I think Jokic is actually the best facilitator in the league.
He hasn't led the league in assists yet, so we think LeBron's a top 5 passer ever.
I don't know. I don't know that for sure, but
I can consider that.
I haven't seen enough of the old head passers, but I think the next debate there is Steph. We both have Steph over LeBron.
That doesn't make any sense.
Go ahead. You could go first on that one.
Oh, yeah, I do have Steph over LeBron. Yeah. I even noticed this.
I just want to know how that. I just want to know someone explaining to me how that.
I also believe Steph Curry is a better player than I think his offense is. I think Steph Curry might be the best offensive player in the league, and I think Jokic might be the second. And it's a league with Kevin Durant in it. So I think Steph might be the best player in it. I think he might be the best offensive player. Like, he might be by far and away the best offensive player. He's playing with the most scrubs as well.
I mean, he spent the last 5 years playing with the best talent.
And they had a dynasty.
So 3 titles?
3 and 4 years is a dynasty against LeBron James for all of them.
I mean,
so
he beat a J.R. Smith, Timothy Mozgov team.
Kyrie was there for the first one.
No, he was not. No, he was not.
The first KD one. But yeah, so Christian and I think Steph is better than LeBron, and I think Steph is in his prime. I do not believe LeBron is in his prime to put over some elite players that are all in their prime at the moment. Which is why I think
Steph can't even take his team. LeBron has always taken his team to the playoffs. Why can't Steph even get his team to the playoffs?
That's why Steph's my 4, because I think.
But he gets to be over a guy who's always in the playoffs, who's always taking his team to the playoffs.
We'll see about Steph this year. He's a lot's on the line for Steph. He can't miss the playoffs for 3 straight years. That's just not acceptable. But I'm going to throw into – I don't think his teammates are very good in guys like Draymond Green and Andrew Wiggins.
I mean, we watched LeBron take Tristan Thompson to the conference.
That was prime LeBron James. He might be
that was 2 years ago.
Yes, when he was in his peak. That might have been peak LeBron. It's been a while since.
But Steph at his peak can't even get through the play-in tournament. He can't even outdo Ja in the play-in tournament.
Don't forget that Steph Curry, if there wasn't a play-in tournament, he made the playoffs. He forgot for that by having to play the Lakers in the first game because they made the 8 seed play the 7 seed.
Because the Lakers shouldn't have been in the play-in tournament, but the Lakers' injuries were the injuries were the only
even so. Like the Lakers should have been playing the Grizzlies, and they should have been playing San Antonio, and they probably would have beat San Antonio, and then still probably lose to Memphis in the second game because that team was good enough to win a 1-and-get-in game. So that sucks for them, but I think Steph has proven enough offensively, and we've talked enough about Jokic. So I think it's time to move on to the last 2 guys that we haven't talked much about on the list at the top. Me and Christian have KD and Giannis. You have KD at 2, so we all have KD at 2. So we all believe is KD peak? Is there any way KD could be 1?
Yeah, KD can be 1 if he goes and wins the title. If he can show me he can win a title without having Steph, Clay, and Dre and Andre, and without 4 other Hall of Famers on his team, Kevin Durant could be 1. He had a chance to be it last year, but he wore shoe size too big, and he got knocked out. So it's unfortunate for him. And even then, you guys have Giannis at 1. I have Giannis at 3 because Giannis is extremely lucky to even be in the position that he got to be in. So I think Kevin Durant, if I was going off of y'all list, Kevin Durant would clearly be 1. That's just in my opinion. I think Kevin Durant is definitely a better player than Giannis Antetokounmpo.
I think that's why it's hard for me to say he could be 1 because I don't think Giannis is releasing
now.
1.
Giannis has shown in preseason that he might have pulled up with a pull-up jumper.
Giannis might not.
And if that's the case, he's 1 by far. So, like, I'm going to wait and see and trust that he can do that consistently.
I think Giannis is so dominant on the defensive end, and his offense is so dominant that as long as he's
so dominant that Kevin Durant can go average 40 points a game in a 7-game series.
He wasn't
because
Giannis wasn't guarding him.
Giannis is so
you were there. Giannis wasn't guarding him.
Because Giannis is so dominant.
PJ Tucker was guarding him.
With Kevin Durant, he wasn't going to stop Kevin Durant.
KD's hard to stop.
But if your defense is so transcendently dominant, like you're trying to,
it's not going to stop Kevin Durant no matter how transcendent it is. Nobody can. So Anything else?
All y'all did was clown LeBron for getting cooked up by KD. At least he tried to guard him. At least he tried to guard him. That's all I'm saying.
He said J.R. Smith. He said Ronnie Hood.
One time, they switched on the screen one time. And like you said, it wouldn't have mattered. KD was hitting that pull up 30-footer no matter what.
Anything. So last thing. So pick 2 risers, 2 fallers for sure. For the whole list for 15.
Obviously, Luka. If Luka has the year that he could have, he could easily end up 1. And Devin Booker. Devin Booker finally deserves some credit for that team. It doesn't make sense that Chris Paul gets all the credit for the Suns turnaround. Like Devin Booker was doing the heavy lifting, and if the narrative changes over to Devin Booker's the best player on the team, and Phoenix goes right back to having another really good season, I think Devin Booker could easily be inside the top 10.
I agree. I'm a rock with Luka for sure because he could easily be a top 5 player by the end of this year. Yeah. But I think I'm gonna rock with Jason Tatum. I'll jump on board, and I'll go. Actually, before I even say I'll go with someone who didn't make the list. The guy I'm gonna pick probably who's in the running for me picking for most improved player. I'm gonna pick Ja Morant. I believe he'll be a top 15 player by the end of this season for sure. So I'll go with Ja and Luka, 2 guys that I've been patenting for a while now. Christian, who you got for 2 risers?
So I agree with you guys on Luka. Just how he is, his experience, of course. But for the second pick, I'm gonna actually choose a guy who didn't make my list, and that'll be Zach LaVine. I could just see, with the Chicago team, just how they look in preseason and the way they facilitate the ball. I just think he'll definitely be improved. Or just improve his overall game.
LaVine's had huge upside, 100%. He's still at his peak athletically, and his skill has finally caught up.
Unfortunately, because of the age injury,
he'll never be
soar
as
through
good
the sky.
as great at probably the best athlete ever, which is what he had in terms of like his athletic ability. But he's still a top 10 athlete in the league, and his skill has finally caught up. And now it looks like his team may have finally caught up. I still have my doubts about the Bulls, but I could definitely, if LaVine elevates them to where they could go, he could definitely be a top 10 player next year. And not just top 15.
Talking about the Bulls, none of us even involved DeMar DeRozan in our conversation at all.
And that's where he'll stay. Is he even top 35 at this point?
And Christian, he's irrelevant enough to we'll just move on to the fallers. That's what he was a couple years ago, or when he was on top 15 list.
Who got the fall?
So I'll go with the obvious one. I think LeBron James will probably continue to fall a little bit just because how competitive the league is, and Jimmy Butler easily. LeBron James and Jimmy Butler because their athleticism is waiting for 2 older wing players.
I'll also agree about LeBron just because the league is so good and he's 37. So he'll be 37 in December. So the fall will slowly but surely creep up on him. The other guy I have is Mr. Joel Embiid because Joel Embiid is in a situation in Philly that is really, really questionable right now. Isaiah pointed out that the last time Embiid was about Ben Simmons, they got swept right out the playoff door. So Joel has a lot. He has to go out there and he has to be the beacon for the Philadelphia 76ers. He has to be the end-all, be-all for them to be a playoff team in an Eastern Conference that's suddenly very, very good. And if Philly can't overcome the Ben Simmons adversity, they can miss the playoffs. And Joel Embiid has to be great to keep them in it.
All right, Christian, two fallers.
Yeah, that's a tough one actually. My first one would actually be Paul George. Just because
another Asian wing.
He might have just peaked.
Yeah, another Asian wing.
Yeah, just because
he was in MVP discussions a few years ago. He's not in that anymore.
He never should have been.
They gave Jokic the MVP in that category. And one more. You going with PG?
Yeah, for the second one, I was thinking Jimmy Butler. Just because.
Yeah, we went with Asian.
Exactly. Yeah.
Asian wings. Asian wings. Yeah.
And one more sneaky one I will have for a guy who's on the list who might not be on it.
Dame time. He's just older. He's an older player.
Get out of there, bro. Stop settling for Portland. They don't deserve you. Go find your way to a team that can give you we want to see you compete for titles, bro. We don't want to see you get knocked out in the first and second round every year. Come on.
As long as the 300 mil backs up.
Everyone has shown the ability to get out of the situation that they don't want to be in.
That means he wants to be there, collecting the bag.
Stop.
He likes being the guy. He likes being the. I think he likes being.
He's going with the Melo method. I'll the title year 20. That's what he's gonna do.
He's a big fish in a small. He likes being a big fish in a small pond. And hey, he makes $300 million to do it. So,
All right, so I think we can move on now to our.
well, and on a good note, some under 25 guys, which was probably the harder list.
Yeah.
Let's see how many under 20. I think Luka and Jason Tatum are the only guys who made all the under 25
Booker.
who made the list for me, and Booker too.
Yeah. So I'll just go with my list first and just knock it out 1 through 15. So at 15, I have a guy that is also in the running for most improved, in my opinion, Mr. Jaren Jackson Jr. Suffered a bad knee injury last year, but I think this is a Chris Bosh type of power forward, and he could easily make a big jump if Memphis, their young guys stay healthy and they have some good coaching, people will start to know about those guys down there in Memphis. At 14, I have Jamal Murray coming off an ACL injury, which, might sap him some of that athleticism, but he showed amazing playmaking, scoring ability before when we saw him in the bubble. And even last season, I think he dropped at least 150-point game. So at 13, I have Donovan Mitchell, a guy that I think is an elite player now, but I just think I don't know how much more growth he has in him. I think he's probably peaked to where he can be based on what he has, even though he's a great athlete. At 12, I have a guy that I think has really underperformed. I have Zion Williamson. He had a great season last year, but some injuries and some bad situations, some bad coaching 2 times over. Maybe it's just New Orleans, so we'll see. Number 11, I have Karl Anthony Towns, a guy that GMs were crazily saying that they were going to pick over everybody. Giannis, Jokic. Yeah, he's not even on the top 15 list and anybody. And we didn't even talk about guys we didn't talk about for the top 15 list. We didn't talk about Karl Anthony Towns. He's not carrying his team in Minnesota, the consistent playoffs, so he's not even like a KG. So maybe more of a Kevin Love type of player because that's puts up great numbers on a really bad team. And number 10, I have the newly paid Michael Porter Jr. I think this is one of those transcendent scoring wings of the future. Just could be as good as a Jason Tatum if he pops. He's getting paid just like him, so you better hope he does. So that's all I gotta say. Health problems and
he is anti-vax, so you also have to be on the lookout for that. Denver has to change.
He plays in Denver.
Denver has to change their rules yet, but hey, most of that West Coast is starting to do it, so he had to be. They got to be careful.
Diversification in this game is all he needs. He just does
anything else. Anything else. Any secondary skill set MPJ would be greatly appreciated.
At number 9, I have SGA. I don't know how long it'll be before we see him in the playoffs again, but we've actually seen him be good in the playoffs, and he's stuck on whatever Oklahoma City is doing over there.
That was number 9, you said?
Number 9, yep, SGA. And I'm really high on him, really big scoring combo facilitating guard. And number 8, we have Trae Young, who just had a virtuoso playoff performance where he was dropping 40 and 10 on multiple teams.
Almost 50 and 10 on Milwaukee.
Like shockingly good. I just think he can't guard anybody, so he'll never be a defensive presence. And I think you have to build a team around him to make him be transcendent. And number 7, I have a guy who also could be in the running for most improved, Mr. LaMelo Ball. I think this is one of the best young players in the league. He's like SGA, but I think is a way better passer. He might be a top 5 passer in the league already today. He's gonna have to. He's being tasked with turning that Charlotte franchise around. But he gets to learn. He gets some tips from Michael Jordan up top. At number 6, I have Devin Booker, who I think is another one of these guys who's really good right now, but I don't know how much more growth he has in him. Good size combo Bradley Beal type of guard who I think has really good skills. Like he has the full arsenal. We saw it in the finals. And number 5, I think, is one of the best up-and-coming two-way wings of the league. Jaylen Brown, not much more to say. We saw the breakout season last year. For a long time, I thought he had just as high of a ceiling as Jason Tatum, and he showed it last year. And number 4, I have everybody's favorite stepchild, or guy who gets treated like a stepchild, Mr. Ben Simmons, who I still think if I had the choice and I was Philly, I would choose to build around Ben Simmons as opposed to building around Joel Embiid. But I think Ben Simmons is a Giannis Antetokounmpo type of talent, a Magic Johnson, LeBron James type of talent. He just has some mental problems that he's probably been spoiled to a point of no return. And number 3, I have one of the young guys I told already that I'm really high on, Mr. John Morant. I think it's showing now. I was saying then I would have taken him over Zion. I think he was a safer prospect. I think this is Derrick Rose, Russell Westbrook, Ja Wall incarnated the next generation of that type of player. But I think he has the best basketball knowledge of them all. I think he's the best floor. He has the best floor game of all those guys to come in at such a young age, because I think he's not even 21 yet, maybe. And number 2, I have everyone's favorite light-skinned guy, Mr. Jason Tatum. Doris Burke, her man crush Monday 5 million times over. Jason Tatum. She loves his son too. Got a nice head of hair. Plays for the Celtics. He's got traded for for old Paul Pierce, so it hurts that he plays for the Celtics because of that. But Jason Tatum, and he also gets to hit a growth spurt at 21, so now he's 6'10", 6'11". And number 1 by far, Luka Doncic, who's the most transcendent player we've seen since LeBron James. So.
Yeah, I think I'll just go ahead and say I got Luka number 1. I think that's pretty consensus at this little podcast we got going on here. But this is going to be interesting because I feel like my list is pretty different from yours, not in terms of names, but in terms of positioning. So I'll go ahead and get mine off. At number 15, I will take Lonzo Ball instead of LaMelo Ball to be on the list. His game has grown every single year. He hit more 3-pointers than he was 5th in threes made last year. He's definitely developed his shooting game he's not a bad shooter no more. That take is gone. He is 100% a very good NBA shooter now. His defense is still one of the very best in the league. I think it'll be appreciated more on when he gets more name recognition, and not name recognition, but team recognition in Chicago on a team that probably be the best team he's ever played on. At number 14, I got Domantas Sabonis. He barely made the age cut to be on this list, but NBA All-Star. He's a guy who's a triple-double threat every time he plays, can play in and out, operate at the post. He's really, really good.
Mini Jokic.
And at number 13, I got Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown showed he made his massive jump last year. I got to see how sustainable it is. He shot the lights out, and then he went a 2-month stretch where he couldn't make anything. Luckily, he was so good in the first 3 months of the season that it didn't matter how far he fell off, and then he got hurt. So I just want to see him come back and show it again before I put him up there on the list. But he's going to be a dominant player for a long time if he can maintain some consistency. At number 12, I got De'Aaron Fox. Sucks that you're in Sacramento, bro. Wait till you get out.
Where they draft Marvin Bagley.
At number 11, I'll take SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I think he's really, really good, and I think Oklahoma City will be back in the playoffs sooner rather than later because I really, really love their young talent. At number 10, I got Ben Simmons. Any man who refuses to dunk on Trae Young can't be a top 5 on anybody's list. I'm sorry. He's got to get it together. He was making a stand about not playing for the Sixers, and then he came back in 2 weeks.
Hey, you got to collect that back. Like Kyrie's going to find out. Hey, to live that lifestyle, you got to show up the work.
So Ben Simmons, we understand your talent. Your talent deserves to be higher, but you have not produced, and you've actually regressed as a player over the years.
Just stay the same.
If you're not getting better, you're regressing. So unfortunately for Ben Simmons, he's fallen behind. At number 9, I'll take Bam Adebayo, who I think is definitely the best defender under 25 in the NBA. And he's shown the ability to be a 5-tool player on offense. He can score the ball. He can facilitate the ball, rebounds well. For an undersized guy, they get away with him because he's really, really good. At number 8, I'll take Zion Williamson. When he plays, none of these guys are significantly better when he's on the court. He's 20-10, 60% shooting guaranteed. Whenever he's on the court, he doesn't get stopped. Now his team really, really bad.
And he's got an all-star.
Really, really bad.
He's an all-star on his team.
And it's Brandon Ingram made the all-star
and
team.
The guy that Ed Lonzo was on his team.
Was he on your top 15 list? No. Brandon Ingram's not on my top 15 list either. So as we understand, the Pelicans have real problems. Zion's probably not going to be there very long. It looks like another Anthony Davis situation all over again. At number 7, I'll take Ja Morant. I think he'll be much, much higher on this list next year. But for right now, he still has problems shooting the 3-point ball.
And in the playoffs, he looks better.
If you can't shoot the 3, and he's a below average 3-point shooter right now. He has to get that up to average to above average as the guy who's the primary ball handler for his team. You have to be great from the free throw line and the 3-point line to be able to maintain that. Unless you're LeBron James, Giannis Antetokounmpo level dominant. So I just want to see him pick up the rest of those points in this game. Also be a better defender for the Grizzlies as well, so they can elevate to a real playoff team instead of a play-in team that can win a couple games. At number 6, I have Trae Young coming off of one of the best playoff runs we've ever seen for a guy making it for his first time. Like if he doesn't twist his ankle, this is a team that might have been in the NBA Finals. That's how well he was playing, and that's how well the Hawks were playing. At number 5, slightly above him, even though he didn't get as far in the playoffs, I like Donovan Mitchell a lot. He's averaged 30 points a game in like his last 2 playoff runs. He's been absolutely outstanding. It's a shame that his coach wouldn't take Rudy Gobert off the floor for them to go win a playoff series. That's unfortunate for him. But Donovan Mitchell has shown the ability to be a 30-point efficient scorer in the NBA playoffs as the only scoring option on his team. I think that says a lot about him, and I think that says a lot about his ability going forward. He has Dwayne Wade level peak if he can get a team around him. And number 4, I'll take Karl Anthony Towns. And we can bitch and moan about Karl Anthony Towns and his mentality and stuff as much as we want.
Talk about Ben Simmons.
Ben Simmons, yeah, Ben Simmons too. But Cat also had his best season with Jimmy Butler being around the team. It's just I blame Andrew Wiggins more than I blame Karl Anthony Towns.
His team was in the play-in. His team was in the play-in this year.
Because of him, they didn't get. And because of him, they didn't go. That's as far as they could go.
He did his job in the Lakers game.
It's unfortunate for Cat that he's in Minnesota with a team with a franchise that just doesn't know how to put a team around anybody in their entire franchise's history. So
KG went to the
KG found a way to do it and got knocked out in the second round. KG found out when he played a real team, they got sent home right away because unfortunately this is still Minnesota. I think he's the Matthew Stafford of the NFL of the NBA. In terms of he's a great player, but his team just sucks. At number 3, I'll take Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum is unbelievable. He's definitely a guy who can be a best player on a championship team. The Celtics just have to stop being cheap and decide to go all in and try to win something. At number 2, I'll take Devin Booker, the guy who actually deserves the credit for the Phoenix Suns run to the NBA Finals. Stop enough with the Chris Paul nonsense. Devin Booker was giving y'all 30 points a game. He has to improve his 3-point shooting. He's shown that he's almost automatic.
Facilitating.
And he's facilitating as well. But the thing is, Booker had solid assist numbers until Chris Paul showed up and took the ball handling responsibility away. I still think he's a good playmaker. He just doesn't have to do that as much anymore. One thing I want to see Devin Booker improve on is his 3-point shooting. He should be a Steph Curry, Damian Lillard type of I'm hitting 250 threes in a season.
He's always been streaky.
That's gotta become less streaky.
He's a scorer, not a shooter.
That'll take you from the 25, 26 he was averaging to I'm 30 now. Devin Booker has 50, 40, 90 percentage capabilities in his toolkit. He just has to put it all
I didn't think Kyrie Irving would ever do it. So most people can now that the shooting is out of the rule.
Yeah. And obviously number 1, nothing else to be said.
Luka Doncic.
First. Yeah, that's crazy because mine is actually a combination of both of yours.
They're all really close players.
It's a lot of good young players in the NBA right now.
Yeah, I'll just start with 15, like you guys. So for my 15, I actually have Karl Anthony Towns. As we all said, he's a league.
He ain't in the top 15. He just has to for being in the top 15 on the 25.
It's 25.
It's great. He was number 1 on that. He was number 1 on a GM list of players that they wanted.
Don't trust the GM list.
No, but a great piece, just never, reaching the next level, especially in playoffs. So, it's a shame, but they're one all-star away from being next one. All right. I'll just go to number 14. De'Aaron Fox is on my list. Unfortunately, on the Kings team. Not the best team, but good player, great guard, good defense, offense, both ways. Number 13, I have Bam Adebayo. We discussed him a little bit, but being on Miami's team, he brings a great offensive big man. He's not the biggest man, but they can get away with playing small ball as him as a big man, and defensively as well. So number 12, I have Jamal Murray on my list. Of course, as a guard coming back from an injury, we'll see how he plays. But before his injury, he was obviously, doing his thing, especially in playoffs, working with Jokic, facilitating ball. So number 11, I have Lonzo Ball. Of course, we talked about his shooting percentage going up, of course. His great defense offensively, and his basketball IQ is extreme. So that's, they'll always do great for Chicago. Number 10, I have Jaylen Brown. Just because, he's a great piece for Celtics. Shooting guard, great scorer. Defensively, he's pretty good. I like Marcus Smart better for Celtics, but Number 9, I have Zion Williamson. Of course, young talent, obviously generational talent. He's still growing. Being with Pelicans, we talked about a little bit. Bad team around him. Brandon Ingram's not in my top 15 for under 25, so we can all agree there. But for number 8, I have DeAndre Ayton. Of course, for Phoenix, great piece, defensively, offensively. They were getting away with putting him as a big man too for defensive, so it's exciting to see what they'll do with him next season. Now for number 7, I have Ja Morant. Of course, people look at him as the next Russell Westbrook, explosiveness, scoring wise. So he's always exciting to watch, especially even on the Memphis team, which I don't know, low playoff spots. So hopefully they can make the playoff this year, but we'll see. Number 6, Mr. Man who shoots in open gym and never in the NBA games, Ben Simmons. Unfortunately, he's not my top 5 because the playoffs come around. I just don't know where he goes. So my number 5, I have Trae Young, Ice Trae. Obviously, for his playoff run last year.
Maestro.
Yeah, what he did to Philly, especially Ben Simmons guarding him, was amazing. Ben
Simmons did a good job guarding Trae Young. When Trae Young was ineffective, Ben Simmons was guarding him. He did a good job cooking switches against Tobias Harris. Matthias Thybulle and Ben Simmons was giving him all he could handle, but that's because he's 5'11". Yeah.
Yeah, him being, as young as he is, the talent he shows is just amazing, especially for his height. So, I think he has a bright future. Number 4, I have Donovan. Of course, Mr. Spider himself for Utah. It's a shame, what you were talking about, they never took out Rudy Gobert, but fortunately, I'm excited to see how they are next season. I see them in like maybe the 4th, 5th seed, somewhere around there. So, we'll see how they work out, especially due to injuries. Number 3, I have Jason Tatum, of course, the Celtics man himself. It's all run on his back. The main scorer for Celtics. Hopefully they don't get cheap. I see them as maybe one All-Star away from being a real competition in the East. So we could see in the future how that goes. Number 2, like you, Moody, Devin Booker, of course, what he was doing in the championships, actually not too long ago, was amazing. Being just a main shooter, he'll definitely be one of the highest scorers in the future of the NBA. And number 1, of course, we can all agree, Mr. Luka Magic, the Doncic man himself. He's,
shit! Here come Luka.
That's how Kawhi and PG feel every time they play him.
So Christian, you were definitely right about your list being a combination of ours. I think your 15 through 8 was pretty close to Isaiah's, and then your 7 through 1 was basically mine. Let's see. I think one thing
LaMelo Ball don't make the list, but y'all don't think Lonzo Ball is a better player than LaMelo Ball?
I do. I think he is right now.
Y'all don't think he's gonna be a better player in the future? I can't buy it.
I do think listen, Lonzo, baby Laker. I always love Lonzo. But here's the thing about LaMelo. Lonzo is their 3-point shooting is similar. Like LaMelo just started off he's just a rookie, so of course they start off the same. Lonzo has developed into this kind of shooter, but Lonzo is still a much better defender. They're probably the same as a passer. And overall, I think Lonzo being in his prime gives me more credence to have him higher up on the list than LaMelo, who I didn't do projections. So I gotta wait and see.
Y'all think right now, today, Lonzo Ball is a better player than LaMelo Ball?
Yes.
What does he do other than defensively? What offensively does Lonzo Ball do better than LaMelo, really?
I mean, not better, but they facilitate about the same.
Nothing better.
If they do things offensively about the same, I think Lonzo might be a little bit better basketball IQ just from experience, just because he's played the game more, and that matters. Playing the game more, having experience, it makes you better. So it's no disrespect to LaMelo Ball. Like if I was doing a top 20 list, LaMelo's on the list, but we did top 15. It's tough to get cuts, and I believe Lonzo is about to enter his peak, while LaMelo's 3 to 5 years from now.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, LaMelo, you way better than Lonzo. That's all right. He looked just as good as Lonzo in his rookie year. So I got to go with who shot up. He's better. I think he's better in my opinion, all the way around. Next one, big topic here: Zion versus Ja. Oh, how things have changed in just a few years.
Yeah.
What has made y'all join the club?
One, Ja obviously has been the ball handling playmaker,
which was always the
on
thing
a
I said
team
then.
That has made the playoffs. So obviously, you got to give him credit for that. Memphis has somehow found a really good coach. They found some really good role players. So like
no all stars though.
No other all stars.
They don't have any.
Yeah, no other. Yeah,
New Orleans has 2.
Yeah, like we know the talent. Although New Orleans did have to start Eric Bledsoe. New Orleans team was badly built last year. Let's just be real with it. New Orleans with Zion Williamson as their best player had Eric Bledsoe and Steven Adams in the starting lineup,
along with Lonzo Ball, who might be an all-star this year, and maybe y'all guys think are pretty elite. And Brandon
I didn't say
Ingram.
pretty elite. I say he's the 15th best player under 25. Like
which is a top 50 player.
Let's call it what it is. Like I don't know if I was
maybe
calling
top 30
borderline
all-star.
But I think Zion's team was poorly built. I think they were poorly coached. And I just think New Orleans is they're a badly run organization. Anthony Davis was trying to tell you guys, like it's not. I'm blaming the organization for Zion's playoff failures more than I'm blaming Zion. Ja gets jumping because Ja's been able to bring his team to the playoff forefront. They made the playoffs last year. They got a game off the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. You got to give them credit for that. I still think where they're both playing, they're evenly skilled players, which is why I had Ja at 7 and Zion at 8. Like I still think they're right next to each other, but Ja's played 5 more playoff games than Zion has, and that's the difference.
And the next one I want to talk, this debate between Mitchell, Trae Young, and Devin Booker. So the guard position of the future of the guard position in the NBA, because Luka's in my opinion is really.
Right. So what would you have those 3 guys?
So I have Donovan Mitchell at 13. I have Booker at 7, and I have Trae Young at I have Booker at 6 and Trae Young at 8. So I have it Booker, Trae Young, Mitchell.
I have Booker, Mitchell, Trae Young. Just because it's really off of height. The 5'11" guy, the 6'4" guy, the 6'6" guy. Like that. That's honestly the splitting hair. I think they're all equally skilled in terms of their talent, but in the NBA, being closer to the hoop matters, and that's what Devin Booker is, and his team was in the finals last year.
But I also had Ja Morant over all of them before. Christian, how do you feel about it?
I have the same order as Moody. Kind of similar where he says Booker. Obviously, especially being a championship, the experience does put him over the edge. The
reason I have Trae over Donovan, though, is because I think Trae's a better facilitator by like a wide margin. Like Trae Young might be like a top 5 facilitator.
I think Donovan's a better scorer.
Trae Young's
a really good scorer, but I think Donovan's a better scorer. I trust Donovan's 3-point shot more, and that's really what Trae Young's known for is the deep threes. And I trust Donovan to be able to shoot the 3 more, and Donovan can also go dunk on you. And I think that's being able to just be able to be a physically dominant presence in a game, I think matters just as much as Trae's skill does.
I would say for Trae Young, I would just trust him more for clutch moments just because I've seen him, especially in playoffs. So, I would argue that with Trae Young.
I definitely feel that.
So was I the only person that had Michael Porter Jr.?
Yeah.
And Jaren Jackson Jr.?
Yes, you
were. No love for
now Triple J. He's barely played the last 2 years, so it's just like it's hard to put Triple J as
he
much
played
as
in
I
the
like
playoffs.
him. Yeah, that's the only time he played all season.
You look at it.
So like, unfortunately for Triple J, it's just you have to see him play more.
Now
he gets
to play with Steven Adams, so Zion don't get no excuses.
That team has been good with or without him. So that's the only thing I have to say about Memphis and Triple J. What was the other guy you were talking about? MPJ. He was 16th for me. So it was a 3-way battle. Unfortunately for Michael Porter Jr., he does one thing. He shoots contested catch and shoot 3-pointers. Nothing else. So he does it at the most elite level that you can do. He's a Klay Thompson type of sniper from the 3-point line. But unfortunately for him, he does nothing else. Nothing else. He doesn't even do anything else even good. So he's an average rebounder.
No, he doesn't do it. He doesn't even do it.
Average rebounder, go bad defender, go bad playmaker, go bad decision maker, no basketball IQ. He's got one skill that he does better than
probably
the
best skill.
But it's an elite skill. So that's why he gets to be 16. for me. He was higher on the list for you. But unfortunately for MPJ, there's so much of his game that's just flawed.
And Christian, you're gonna have to defend Mr. DeAndre Ayton.
Damn. I had him at my number 9 on my list.
Yeah.
He wasn't on me and Isaiah's list, so I want to know why he made yours.
He would have been like 25 on my list.
I had him at like 19th, 20th.
Mainly what really come out about DeAndre Ayton was just his championship performance. You know, just in the moment, how he reacted defensively.
Like when Giannis blocked him.
I mean, that's Giannis.
That's Giannis. He can block
when Giannis dunked on him.
That's so sorry that the borderline all-timer.
Yeah, I was just joking on him. He showed out in the playoffs. He did. His matchup against Jokic, his matchup against AD.
Nah, he was getting dominated in that matchup. Let's just make that very clear.
Hey.
Any other differences y'all caught?
I had Bam Adebayo on my list. I didn't hear him on either one of y'all's lists, so I just want to know.
For mine.
You had him 15th?
He was fighting with. He would have been 16 on my list. He's one of those top guys. I just don't know, like his offense. We have to see his offense develop.
And did y'all both leave De'Aaron Fox off as well?
No, Christian has De'Aaron Fox.
I had 14.
Christian, all right, so yeah.
He would have been like 17. I don't know how good he is.
I think he's in Sacramento.
He's
in Sacramento.
Tell me how good he like. Show me the signature De'Aaron Fox moments where he even like I've seen Bogdanovich hit a couple game winners on that Sacramento team, and I knew he was a baller.
How many King games are you watching?
The one where the Nets came back for them down 25 points a couple years ago with D'Angelo Russell.
Those are the Kings games you're watching. The Kings are the worst franchise in the NBA, and it can easily be the worst franchise in sports.
Timberwolves are pretty bad.
Timberwolves, this is the Sacramento Queens we're talking about here. It's poor De'Aaron Fox. Get out of there as soon as you can.
And lastly, because we all know Luka's Luka, the battle between Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. You guys have it further out. I think Jaylen Brown is right on his tail, just as good as Mr. Jason Tatum, because I think he's a better two-way wing. So
I think Brown definitely has the higher defensive upside, and I think when you talk about two guys who are both the big two-way type of wings, Brown being a better defender helps. But I think Tatum is closer to the Kevin Durant, LeBron James. I'm the complete player on both sides of the ball. There's nothing I can't do.
Tatum has been better on defense
than Jaylen Brown has to put to. I think Jaylen Brown's peak is Kawhi. Jason Tatum's peak is Kevin Durant, and I think we all agree that Kevin Durant is a better peak
top 5
than
players.
Kawhi. Two players who are really, really great. It's just I think Tatum's peak is higher.
Christian, anything else to say about that debate?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Moody 100%. Just the fact that Tatum, you can see in his game just the way he's been developing over years, especially mid-range and three-point shot. It's just I see more experience in his game than Jaylen Brown. But two are great players, obviously. They will obviously come into being probably top 15 in the league eventually. But, we'll see. Their future's still bright. They're still young. So it's a great team they have.
All right, I think that'll probably do it for our 15 under 25.
All right, thanks for joining us, Christian. We'll be back next time for just a season prediction.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.